Hello everyone and welcome back to the Fantasy Football Fix YouTube channel. My name's FPL Phillips and it's time for another Eddie versus the algorithm video. The series where I'm taking on the computer generated team predicted to score the highest amount of points for each game week of the FPL season. But my own gut feeling free hit draft up against it, and so far so good for myself, but only just. The algorithm won last game week. Tarkowski ended up making the difference. So it's now 10-9 to myself in the series. So there's only one game week in it. The algorithm will be hoping to draw level this week as double game week 25 rolls around. It's felt like it's been a very long time since the last FPL game week deadline. I'm ready for it to return. I hope you guys are too and you're excited as we get into double game week 25. And in this video, we'll be kicking things off, as always, by looking at the algorithm team. So a warm welcome back to anyone who is tuning into this series every week. Thank you again for your continued support. If you're a new time viewer, then do consider, of course, subscribing to the channel. And I hope you do enjoy your time here talking through these teams and assessing the game week upcoming. So the algorithm team predicted to score 103 points this game week. A very, very healthy total, but it's a double game week, so it's going to have at least 6 double game week players in here, one would think. And we'll kick things off in goal, where there is going to be one of such double game week players, and it's Emi Martinez of Aston Villa. Now, when you talk about Villa assets for this double game week, I think Morgan Rogers is probably the top one, and then if you're playing the assistant managership, Emery looks probably the second best choice, or maybe even alongside Rogers. But those two, I don't think anyone's really in too much doubt about. But when you look outside of those two options, I think it becomes a little bit more difficult to pick options. Watkins is a little bit of a fitness risk at the moment. Do you take the punt on him? It seems hard to sell someone like an Alexander Isak if you own him at the moment to switch across to a player who might not even start. And I don't think we've actually seen out on the grass yet ahead of the upcoming game week. Whereas someone like an Emi Martinez, is going to play both games, can make a hell of a lot of saves in one game. And on his day, could get 10 plus points quite comfortably in FPL. So we could see that happening against Ipswich. If he did somehow manage to keep a clean sheet against Liverpool, then I've no doubt it would be an absolute monster haul as well. And so he's a good option. It's just obviously the point where not too many people are considering making goalkeeper transfers at this point. I think if people did, it would have been last week to bring in Pickford. And then you're not going to sell on to Martinez just for this double game week, I don't think. But as far as this series goes, he looks like a very, very solid pick indeed for goalkeeper. In defence, we're going to see an obvious one in Trent Alexander-Arnold, who should be back fit and starting after he did come off the bench against Everton on Wednesday. He's got Wolves and Aston Villa, so a very nice-looking double game week for Liverpool, as we know. He's alongside Gabriel and Munoz for this week, so two players that the algorithm does quite like, two players actually own in my own personal FPL team, so it's nice to see them there. Leicester away, obviously a very nice fixture for Arsenal, and Munoz, Everton, a team in some very decent form. Munoz has picked up one or two attacking returns as of late. Crystal Palace, I'm not sure we'll keep a clean sheet in that one. I wouldn't be overly confident, but it does look like a nice fixture on paper. I think maybe the algorithm's taking into account a little bit more of the form from earlier in the season, Everton, not this new transformed side that we're seeing under David Moyes. And if they can continue and bounce off that late equaliser against Liverpool and that success in the Merseyside derby, you'd have to say, then I think they could cause Palace some serious trouble, even away from home. So not as confident in the Munoz pick as maybe some other defensive options this week, but I still think it's very solid. And obviously on paper, when you look at Everton and the quality in their team, I think you would still back Palace at home in that one to get the job done. In midfield, there's no prizes for guessing who takes the captain's armband. It's Mohamed Salah with that one, of course. Congrats to anyone who triple captained Mo Salah last game week. I think it ended up being the right call. He obviously came away with a pretty, very healthy points total that will be hard to find throughout the rest of the season, one would imagine. He's alongside Kluivert, Rogers and Cole Palmer. So Cole Palmer, very usual suspect, has been a bit quiet lately. Hasn't been picking up quite these monster hauls that we've seen from him in the past. But still a very nice option. And of course, a game against Brighton, who have shipped a lot of goals this season already and could do so once more in Game Week 25. Rogers, as I discussed when we talked about Martins, I think he's the standout Villa option at this point. He's getting a lot of minutes so far this campaign. He's playing very, very attacking and ultimately just looks like he should be a good pick. And he's very, very cheap as well. Let's not forget, he's still very, very low in price. I think most people will own him already, or if they don't, he seems a very, very sensible midfielder transfer to bring in for this week if you don't own him already. But if you do already own Rodgers, then a Bournemouth midfielder could be very much on your buy list. Kluivert up against Utara and also Semenyo. So that comparison is one that I've done in quite a lot of depth over on the Stats Sandbox on the Fantasy Football Fix website. If you want to use that tool for yourself, I use it every week when I'm considering weighing up options in similar positions. It's very good, especially when players play for the same team. It makes it very, very helpful. So Kluivert does stand up above when you look at penalties included in that XG and stuff over the last 5 game weeks or so. But when you take that penalty data out of it, Utara is the man to go for. And so they're very, very neck and neck. Obviously, you can't just discount penalty data because players do get penalties and teams do get penalties. But when you've had that many over the last few game weeks, well, Bournemouth had it quite a lot, one could argue they're getting lucky, or one could argue that they're creating those chances and they're getting the ball into those areas where they're winning penalties. So why wouldn't it keep continuing, you know? So I think both of them are great options. It's very, very tough to make the call. I think Kluivert is more of the safe option, and Utara is more of a differential pick. If you're maybe looking to gain some serious rank or something like that, then you could go for Utara if you're willing to take a bit of a risk on that. But it's a very, very tough call, and Kluivert is still a great option. Southampton away looks like one of those fixtures, I'll admit, where you bring a player in for it because it looks fantastic, and then Southampton go and end up drawing 1-1 or winning 1-0 or something like that. It just, Southampton seem that kind of team as well, where they only turn up when everyone's brought in players to play against them, and Bournemouth are definitely a team that people are jumping on this week in defence. If you don't own Kirkes and you're not fancying a double Gameweek asset, then I'd recommend bringing him in as well. So the Bournemouth options look great for this game week. As a result, they'll probably blank, but I can't advise you against bringing them in. I think it is just still a sensible thing to do. And then finally, up front, we'll see Watkins, Gakpo and Visser. So Gakpo makes it in here. That is just the best Liverpool 3 I think you can get at the moment, probably. If anyone's got any alternating opinions, then feel free to leave them down below. But Salah and Gakpo, undoubtedly the best 2 attacking assets. Trent Alexander-Arnold, when he's fit, you can't argue against him being the best Liverpool defensive pick, can you? So those 3 definitely in this side. If Watkins does make 2 appearances, then he'll of course be a good option for this double game week as well. And yeah, I do think it's just worth the risk. Visser is the last man coming in. Another side with a new manager as of late. He's going up against West Ham in that one. Not being in fantastic form, is a player that I've actually brought in myself in the last few game weeks, hoping Brentford can do the damage in that one on an own personal note. So yeah, it's nice to see him in the algorithm team, and the computer is at least backing him for this week. On the bench, Utara does make it in, just missing out by 1 place in this side with Mark Gay and Mitchell, so some more of the Palace defenders go down there. Let's get into having a look at my team now and see how it differs to that of the algorithms. And so, yeah, here's my side. I'm trying to remember what I actually put in this one. So I do have Kirkes, who I was raving about before. And yeah, I do think he's a great asset to own in FPL at the moment. So I've gone for him. I've also gone for Pedro Porro. Now, this is one of my kind of cheeky punts where I've just got a bit of a hunch or a gut feeling in a certain game week, and I can't really shake it. So Pedro Porro is the one I've gone for here. Spurs, obviously, shambolic defensively, but just seem to pull a clean sheet out of their ass every now and again. And Manchester United are that kind of team where they're just a bit naff going forward. So I'm backing Pedro Porro to potentially keep a clean sheet in this one and then get an attacking return. So this could obviously go one of 2 ways. He'll probably end up on 1 point and maybe even get a yellow card or something. Or I'll look like a genius and he'll get 12 or 13, hopefully. So I can just see it going one of those 2 ways and nothing in between, really. But watching Manchester United at the moment, attacking-wise, I don't think it's not filling me with encouragement as a United fan. And I think Spurs will be up for this one. So let me know what you guys think. I think Spurs will get the victory in there, and that's why I've gone for Pedro Porro. I have got Munoz down there on the bench and Greaves as well, and just, you know, the rest of us to save budget. But I've gone with a very similar looking midfield. I've actually gone for Kluivert and also Utara, so bringing both of them in and not going for Cole Palmer. So I'm taking the punt up front this week, my second punt of the week really, going with Erling Haaland despite a tricky fixture on paper against Newcastle United. I think Manchester City are going to bounce back after that slight embarrassment, you'd have to say, against Real Madrid. Pep's not going to be happy. I think that they do just put 2 or 3 past Newcastle at the weekend, and I'd back Haaland to be involved in hopefully 2 of them at least, because I've invested a hefty chunk of the weekly budget into him for this one. So yeah, the other 2 up front, Gakpo and Watkins, are the same as the algorithm side. Just found it hard to argue against them, and Watkins, I'm just taking the punt on him, hopefully being fit, but for what it's worth, I wouldn't really be transferring him in for anyone expensive in your FPL team at the moment. As usual, we'll take a look at the captaincy briefly, but to be honest, I think there's only one real candidate for this game week. And so here are the stats. Can anyone live up to Mo Salah? Ollie Watkins is the only real one I'd maybe consider. He's on 9.8 predicted points to Salah's 17.8, which is absolutely mind-boggling. He does actually have the better expected goals conceded when it comes to opponent defensives. Obviously, Ipswich, the weakest of the 4 fixtures that any of them have got this week. Well, they're playing each other, so I don't know if you can really count the other 2. But yeah, Ipswich the weakest out of themselves, Wolves, and then Villa and Liverpool themselves included in that. And then just look at the form, really. I mean, 9.53 expected FPL points per 90. Pretty crazy stats. Obviously, penalties and all that as well. I just think that Mo Salah is the one to captain. And if you've got any rogue captain that you want to go for instead, then I respect you for going for it. But I think 99.9% of managers this week will be going with Mo Salah, and to be honest, I don't see any reason to go against them. That's going to wrap up Eddie versus the algorithm on a rather boring note this week, we shall say. Hopefully you have a great game week yourself. I wish you a green arrow in double game week 25. Thank you again for choosing to tune in. Leave a thumbs up if you've made it this far on the video, and comment cheese down below. But I'll see you hopefully next week in the next video. I'll see you soon. Goodbye.